Hey, let's file your homestead exemption. Hey, it's Jaime with Echo Real Estate Advisors. Welcome to my channel. If you're a home buyer, a home seller, an investor, or simply want to learn more about real estate, this is the home for you. So don't forget to subscribe. Okay, today we're going to file our homestead exemption in Ellis County. Now, if you're in the DFW area here in Texas and are not in the Ellis County, for example, if you're in Dallas, if you're in Denton, if you're in Collin, then there are other videos in this channel that specifically address those counties. Today, we're gonna file the Ellis County homestead exemption so you know exactly how to do the filing if you're in this county. Makes sense, right? So let's dig in. We're gonna go to Ellis CAD. Now, very important. To file your homestead exemption, you are not filing or sending it to the state. This is something that is county by county. That's why you heard me say that Ellis, Collin, Denton, Dallas, those are all other videos that we're filing the homestead exemption in. So again, make sure that you're not filing it with the state because they're gonna reject it. All right, we're gonna go to the Ellis CAD property search. Actually, we're just gonna go to Ellis CAD, and we're gonna get the homestead exemption form. All counties have a different form, slightly different, but really they're asking the same questions. Exemptions, there it is. Now let's see if this is editable. So fill in, it looks like it is. Awesome, Dallas County is not. Dallas you have to print out and fill out. So always see forms that you can fill in and print out and just send on its way. So we have about 5 pages here. Let's see how many of those pages we actually have to fill information in. So the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one is affidavits. Okay, it's really the reason for so many pages is because they really blew this part up. So fair enough, same information that they're asking for that other counties are as well. So to get a property address to work with, I'm gonna go to the Dallas CAD, the actual address of the county appraisal district. I wanna get this address as a dummy address because we're gonna use their actual building as I demonstrate how to file your homestead exemption. I could pull a residential address, but out of respect to the owners in that county, I'm just gonna pull a commercial address. I'm sure the CAD over in Ellis won't mind. Alrighty, so Waxahachie, this one right here. You would just type in your home search and then you're gonna have a page very similar to this. The exception is, of course, this is not the same property and this is a commercial address. But the residential address and the residential information is almost the same, just with different numbers. All right, the property ID, I know they're gonna ask right off the bat, and there it is. So I'm gonna control paste that. Don't do anything here. And let's get started. All right. Let me pause real quick. This is not a substitute. This video is not a substitute for you reading through everything. Of course, you're responsible for that. This is just the quick version on how to file it. I have been doing this for quite a while now, I've filed a lot in my day. So I really know what they're asking for, and I know what will be denied, what won't be denied. And in the course of this video, I'll share that information with you, but each county is a little bit different. So be sure that you read through the exact notices, the exact instructions that you're being asked to do. Do you own and live in the property for which you are seeking a residence homestead exemption? This is a demonstration. This is a how-to video, so I'm going to put yes. In this example, yes. Do you date you purchased the property? I'm going to put that I purchased this property the 1st of December of 2018. So we are in May of 2019. The reason they're asking for this, they're wanting to know when you purchased it and when you actually occupied the property. The reason this becomes important is because for you to be eligible for the homestead exemption, you will have to have lived in the home, occupied the home, January 1st of the year that you're applying for. So January 1st is a very important date that you're going to see a common theme through all the questions referencing that January 1st date. So in this example, let's say I closed the 1st of December 2018, and then I occupied it 2 days later, which I would still be eligible for because, again, this is 2019. I will have lived in the home January 1st of 2019. I'm applying for the exemption for 2019. Previous residence address. I'm just gonna put 123 Main Street. Previous county, I'm gonna say that I used to live in Dallas County. Were you receiving a homestead exemption in your previous residence? I'm gonna say yes. So what's gonna happen is that will need to come off. That homestead exemption needs to be wiped away and applied to the new residence. You won't be able to have 2 homestead exemptions at once. Name of property owner, I'm just gonna put my name. Date of birth, I'm just not gonna worry about that, but you would fill in your information. And of course, I won't be giving my driver's license or social security number out here, so you just put the numbers that apply to you. And I'm gonna put single adult. If you're a married person, then you would of course fill that in. Now, if you're married, you will be pulling your spouse's name down here, and generally marriage and married couples would be a 50-50 ownership interest. So there you would put 50 and then the spouse would be 50. But for this example, I'm gonna put 100 as I'm the single adult owning the property. Then I'll put my phone number, I'll put the address, and that would be it. Again, the owner, independent of the spouse, you will need to put that in there as well. And most likely, if there are additional owners who live in the property, please list same information. Step 7, additional information sec. Okay, before we get there, I'm gonna go ahead and call it out. If this is somebody outside of your spouse, if somebody else owns it with a different ownership interest, that person as well will need to file for a homestead exemption to have their application approved for their ownership interest. It gets a little bit confusing, but I suspect that's what step 7 will be telling you. Is any portion of the property for which you are claiming a residence homestead exemption income producing? So they're saying there is most likely referencing a rental property. So only you know if that is going to apply or not. If you answered yes, please indicate the percentage of the property that's income producing. So as an example of what they're suggesting here is, are you renting a room out? So what portion of this area is income producing? So that's kind of where they're getting at. I don't want to get too much into the weeds because the situation is different. So I'm going to keep it as generic as possible and as applicable as possible to as many people. So I'm going to put no. Property that qualifies for residence homestead exemption. Provide the physical address of the property you own and occupy as your principal address and for which you are claiming a property exemption. So there you would put the address of the property that you're requesting the homestead exemption. This would be the physical address, which very common. Well, I use 123 Main Street, so I'll just put 567. Actually, what am I doing? My demo address is legal description. Legal description, most people don't know what that is, but it will be in your CAD. It will be in these Central Appraisal District's information. So you saw there, I just click back over to the property details, and it was right there. Appraisal District Property ID. Well, we've already filled that in, but we'll fill that in again. So up here, we already filled that out. However, won't hurt us to put it again. Applicant's mailing address, if different from the property address of the principal residence provided above. If you're getting your mail somewhere else, a P.O. box number or anything else, that's where you would do that. Number of acres or fraction of an acre not to exceed 20 acres you own and occupy as your principal residence. All right, so we're gonna look at the size of this property. Not the improvement, but of the actual land, the lot. So most lots, to give you an idea, are about 1/8 of an acre. So let's see. Property land, the square footage. This is where so property land is where you would find the size of your property. So they actually do the conversion for you right there. Most county appraisal districts, all they do is provide you the square footage. Then you have to Google on how to do the conversion, or ask Google to do the conversion into acres for you. Thankfully, they did the conversion for us, so we're good. If your principal residence is a manufactured home, please provide the make, model, and identification number. A common misconception is that manufactured, i.e. mobile homes, are not eligible for a homestead exemption. They are, except you're just going to, not except, you will need to include some additional information. So the make, the model, the ID number, and you're on your way. They may ask for an affidavit here towards the end. We'll check that out before we sign off, but just rest assured, manufactured homes, mobile homes, you're eligible as well. If the ownership of your property is in stock in a co-op housing corporation, do you have an exclusive right to occupy the unit at the physical address identified above? So co-ops, the way that you own real estate through co-ops is through a stock, so a certificate of stock. So that is a co-op housing. Most owners are not in co-ops. So we're gonna put no. Well, when I print it out, I would put no here. It's interesting that was not editable. All right, now the types of residence homestead exemptions. There are various ones to choose from. You don't have to only select one. Know that if you qualify for some additional homestead exemptions, know that you can highlight all of them, again, that apply to you. You will need to not only apply and select that you're eligible for them, but also have documentation, and they'll go into the description of what you need to provide in order to prove that you're eligible for those. For our example, we're just gonna stick to the general residence homestead exemption. Now, if you're disabled, if you're the age of over 65, you're the surviving spouse of individual who qualified for age 65 or older exemption, 100% disabled veterans exemption, various others to choose from. You would just need to read through and see which ones you can add to your exemptions. I'll just leave it at that. You can read there. All right, place an X or check mark beside the type of tax limitation or surviving spouse exemption transfer you seek for your previous homestead exemption. All right, so the tax limitation or exemption transfer, skip the steps if only applying for a general homestead exemption. We don't need to do this. Now, if you are applying for some additional exemptions, then of course you would do that there. Very important, coming up. Attach a copy of your driver's license or state-issued personal identification certificate. The address listed on your properties, on your driver's license or state-issued personal identification certificate must correspond to the address of your property. That's super important. That's a recent change in the past years where your driver's license or government-issued, state-issued ID card, the address that you have there has to coincide with the address that you're filing this homestead exemption for. Now, before, what they were running into was people were filing homestead exemptions on homes they didn't occupy, so rental properties and everything else like that. So this is the way that they're combating that. So whatever address you have on your driver's license has to match up to your to the address on your property. All right, now indicate if you're exempt from the requirement to provide a copy of your driver's license or state-issued personal identification certificate. I'm a resident of the facility that provides services related to health, affirmity, or aging. So if any of these qualify for you or you qualify for any of these, then there's a chance that you may be exempt from the requirement of what I just mentioned. The address of the driver's license having to match with your property address that you're filing the homestead exemption for. And then another exemption, I'm certified for participation in the address. I am certified for participation in the address confidentiality program administered by the Office of Texas General, yada, yada, yada. Indicate if you request the chief appraisal waive the requirement that the address of the property for which the exemption is claimed corresponds to the address listed on your driver's license or state-issued personal identification certificate. So if you're an active duty member of the armed services, I hold a driver's license issued in section X, Y, and Z. So these 4 questions have to do with the waiving of the requirement of the driver's license address matching the property address the homestead for the homestead exemption. And then it goes into some additional information of what you would need to provide for proof or documentation to be eligible for the other exemptions. Again, this is an application, so you do need to provide as much information that they're asking for that you have on hand. Additional information. If you own other residential property in Texas, please indicate the counties in which they're located. So if you have some other land or ownership interest, then you would disclose that there. Notice regarding penalties for making or filing an application containing a false statement. If you make a false statement in this form, you could be found guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Fill this out to the best of your abilities. You would print your name there, you would sign, date. Well, you would sign, the other owner would sign here. Remember to attach a copy of your driver's license. And let's see, here's the affidavits that I was mentioning. So affidavit for ownership applicant who is age of 65 or older. So if you're filing additionally for that, affidavit for owner occupant applicant who has qualified disability, okay? And affidavit for owner applicant without written ownership documentation for manufactured homes. So if you're gonna do that, there you go. But as you can see here, this video took longer than what it's going to take for you to file your homestead exemption. If you missed the deadline for this year, don't worry. Go ahead and apply for it now to make sure that you're not late next year. Hey, it's Jaime with Echo Real Estate Advisors. Thanks so much for checking out one of my videos. Feel free to browse around for any additional topics that may be of interest to you. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another upload. Lastly, remember I am a full-time realtor, so feel free to reach out and see how I may be of service. Thanks.